He is the most holy, the most great. This is the month wherein was born he who beareth the most great name, whose appearance hath caused the limbs of humankind to quake, and the dust of whose footsteps the concourse on high, and the dwellers of the cities of names have sought for a blessing. Whereupon they rendered praise unto God, and cried out in joy and exultation, by God. This is the month through which all other months have been illumined, the month wherein he, who is the hidden secret and the well-guarded treasure, hath been made manifest, and hath called aloud amidst all humankind. All dominion belongeth to this newborn child, through whom the face of creation hath been wreathed in smiles. And the trees have swayed, and the oceans have surged, and the mountains have taken flight. And paradise hath lifted its voice, and the rock hath cried out, and all things have exclaimed, O concourse of creation, hasten ye towards the dawning place of the countenance of your Lord, the merciful, the compassionate. This is the month wherein paradise itself hath decked forth with the splendors of the countenance of its Lord, the all-merciful. And the heavenly nightingale warbled its melody upon the divine low tree, and the hearts of the favored ones were filled with rapture. But alas, the people for the most part are heedless. Blessed be the one who hath recognized him and apprehended that which was promised in the books of God, the Almighty, the All-Praised. And woe betide him that hath turned aside from the one upon whom the concourse on high have fixed their gaze, him who hath confounded every wayward misbeliever. When once thou hast received this tablet, intone it in the sweetest of melodies, and say, Praise be to thee, O my most merciful Lord, for remembering me in this tablet, whereby the fragrances of the garment of thy knowledge was diffused, and the oceans of thy grace were made to surge. I bear witness that thou art potent to do as thou pleasest. No God is there but thee, the Almighty, the All-Knowing, the All-Wise.
Ye are the stars of the heaven of understanding, the breeze that stirreth at the break of day, the soft flowing waters upon which depends the very life of all men. Ye are the first among men to be recreated by spirit, the first to adore and bow the knee before him, the first to circle round his throne of glory. Ye are the stars of the heaven of understanding, the breeze that stirreth at the break of day, the soft flowing waters upon which depend the very life of all men, the very life of all men.
Good evening, friends. Good evening. There we go. We're here for a celebration. We are here to celebrate. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the 200th anniversary celebration of the birth of Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith. So I want to start by acknowledging the first reading. The voice you heard was that of Simone Kavalheim, and the beautiful chant by Susie El-Ghanyan. Thank you for those opening prayers. Thank you for all being here tonight for this event. This weekend, Baha'is around the world are celebrating the start of the Bicentenary of the birth of Baha'u'llah, the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, who brought a message of peace and unity to the world. He was born in ancient Persia in 1817, so 200 years ago. And we hope that tonight is the first of many celebrations over this coming year. Celebrations of a life, of a faith, of our communities, of service, of humanity. At this time, I would like to recognize our esteemed local dignitaries who are able to join us tonight. The Mayor of San Clemente, the Honorable Kathleen Ward. Can you please stand? And the former Mayor of San Clemente, Mr. Wayne Eggleston. Thank you very much for being here to celebrate with us tonight. The city of San Clemente, along with the city of Mission Viejo, have both issued proclamations to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the birth of Baha'u'llah. These proclamations are actually displayed in the lobby of the community center here tonight, so hopefully you'll be able to see them before you leave. We have a wonderful program for you this evening, including a number of amazing musical performances and a very special video presentation. But my personal goal is that you leave here tonight with insight into two things. First, the story of Baha'u'llah's life and the legacy of his faith as we celebrate this 200th anniversary. And second, a better understanding of the importance of service in the Baha'i faith and the type of local service work that Baha'is around the world, as well as right here in the South Orange County communities, are doing to embody the principles of this world religion, particularly those services that are changing the lives of children and junior youth. I'd like to start by sharing a little bit about the Baha'i faith for those of you who are just now starting to learn about this religion. The Baha'i faith is an independent world religion established in ancient Persia by Baha'u'llah. His name, Baha'u'llah, means the glory of God. And Baha'u'llah's mission was to unite humanity, turn our hearts towards God, and instill a spirit of service, justice, and unity in the world. There are nearly 6 million Baha'is in the world across 200 territories and countries. But the core of Baha'u'llah's teachings center on the 3 principles of oneness: the oneness of God, the oneness of religion, and the oneness of humanity. But what does that even mean? What do these 3 principles of oneness even mean? It means that at the time Baha'u'llah came, he was presenting a radically different perspective on the world. Baha'is believe that throughout the history of time, God has sent humanity a series of divine teachers, each of whom has founded a great religion that was necessary for that time. These messengers included Zoroaster, Krishna, Moses, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad. And Baha'is believe that the most recent of these teachers, these divine teachers, is Baha'u'llah, who taught that there is only this one God from which all of these divine teachers come. And the reason they come from God in this progressive manner is to help unify humanity slowly over time. And this idea of the oneness of humanity, the idea that we have this intrinsic, undeniable equality of all human beings, no matter what their race, their gender, their religion, their ethnicity, no matter what those differences are, that we are all one human family. That is the only way that the world can move forward towards a more united and peaceful future. Baha'u'llah shared so many radical ideas for the evolution of society. Ideas like the undeniable equality of men and women, the eradication of all types of prejudice, the need for compulsory universal education. And this was nearly 200 years ago, when America was on the brink of civil war, before the suffrage movement had given voting rights to women, before Gandhi helped break India of its caste system, and before apartheid ended in South Africa. A divine teacher in ancient Persia, somewhere in the Middle East, said, "The world is but one country, and humankind its citizens." That's like telling me that a prehistoric caveman predicted we would send rockets to the moon and we would walk on it. It literally seems implausible. It just doesn't seem possible that this happened, but it did. And so we're here tonight to celebrate the significance of that, to celebrate these world-changing thoughts and ideas. We're going to kick off tonight with a performance, a musical performance, by Nightingale. Nightingale is a musical ensemble of South Orange County women who sing traditional and original music under the direction of their arranger, Jean Toshel Quinn. Please welcome Nightingale.
And mountains, the valleys, and the meadows. Let your song of joy be everywhere. Softly the world sings, Baha'u'llah, 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 Baha'u'llah sings, Baha'u'llah sings, Baha'u'llah sings, Baha'u'llah sings, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Salam Alaikum, Salam Alaikum, Salam Alaikum, Salam Alaikum, Salam.
They're like a spiritual pentatonics. They're amazing. Let's give them another hand. Now, one of the highlights of tonight's program is a video that we're about to play. In preparation of the bicentennial celebration, the Universal House of Justice, which is the world governing body for the Baha'is, has commissioned a film called Light to the World about the life and legacy of Baha'u'llah. We are now going to have a very special screening of an edited down 20-minute version of this film. As I mentioned at the beginning, one of my hopes from this evening is that you're able to take away some insight into the life and legacy of Baha'u'llah and his faith. So my hope is that this film provides a little bit of that for you tonight. And with that, please enjoy Light to the World.
There is a story unfolding. a story of humanity's progress through history. Propelled by the teachings of messengers of God. Messengers guiding humanity through its stages of development, and now to the dawn of its maturity. Now is the time of Baha'u'llah, the messenger of God for this day.
Baha'u'llah's purpose is to unite all mankind, to bring all races, classes, peoples, different backgrounds to be united.
The teachings of Baha'u'llah are inspiring millions of people, transforming neighborhoods, villages, and cities in every country on earth.
Baha'u'llah è venuto per trasformare l'intero carattere dell'umanità, portare un cambiamento interiore ed esteriore nelle condizioni del mondo.
Baha'u'llah's teachings are vast in scope, essential in nature. Their central feature is the oneness of humankind, with all its implications for the transformation of those essential relationships that bind peoples and nations, helping them to transcend all forms of prejudice, to advance the equality of women and men, to uplift the downtrodden, and to foster economic justice. These teachings of Baha'u'llah represent an end to division and otherness. This is the time for the recognition that all people are one family, for the building of a united world that embraces the diversity of its peoples. It is a new chapter of humanity's story, a chapter that began 200 years ago. Persia, 1817. The world is asleep. It is the hour of dawn on an ordinary day when an extraordinary child is born to humanity. He will come to be known as Baha'u'llah. As a child, Baha'u'llah lives a princely life. His father is a distinguished government minister, and his ancestry goes back to the greatest dynasties of Persia.
Baha'u'llah muvi wende pa wayikubwana bwende. Ubuenze bishima bya bongo. Ubone lunge nyilute. Umone bantu babonye bava bakema umushindu uva Baha'u'llah. Munsombelu wende bambani ka. Mwana muteketu nunkwewo wende nsombelu mushilani watetu bantu bakwalani. Kaboye mutu lasa to kajiboba mwelu lukonko wanda munanu wamba ne ewu mulongi munene bwachinga bwane ewu ujini lungi nyilutu uju mwene kamuntu anzani.
As Baha'u'llah grows to young adulthood, he turns his back on a life of luxury and prominence, and instead dedicates himself to helping the poor and the oppressed. Baha'u'llah's dedication to serving those in need stands in stark contrast with the attitudes among the nobility of the time. Later in life, he would demonstrate the temporary nature of the material world and all its riches by relating a story from his childhood. He describes watching an elaborate puppet show while still a young child during the wedding celebration of his older brother.
Très rapidement, des petits personnages ont commencé à s'animer. Et les petits personnages ont annoncé « Sa Majesté arrive, préparez les sièges ». Finalement, arrive un personnage royal qui était très majestueux, qui agissait avec beaucoup d'arrogance, très hautain, qui avait un diadème très brillant. Et là, des coups de feu retentirent, les trompettes, tout d'un coup, la tente fut enveloppée de fumée. La pièce se termine et 20 minutes après, il y a un homme qui sort du derrière de la tente et qui a une petite boîte sous le bras. Et Baha'u'lláh l'arrête et lui dit « Mais qu'est-ce que c'est que cette boîte ?» Il lui dit « Toutes les choses que tu as vues, le prince, le roi, les ministres, tout ce que tu as vu est enfermé dans cette boîte. »
Baha'u'lláh tells this story to help explain the true purpose of our physical existence. Ere long, these outward trappings, these visible treasures, these earthly vanities, these proud and overweening souls, all shall pass into the confines of the grave, as though into that box. It behooveth therefore every man of insight to fix his gaze upon the goal of eternity.
Baha'u'lláh explains through this story that the reality of this life is fleeting. None of it lasts. Really, the nature of human beings is that, yes, we have a material self that lives in this world and passes away, but we also have a soul that comes from God and is eternal and will continue to last long after the physical body dies.
(1844). Baha'u'llah's reputation for kindness and compassion, for insight and wisdom, becomes widespread in his native land. At the same time, a sudden and galvanizing movement begins to spread throughout all of Persia. A young man, known as the Bab, or the Gate, had arisen to awaken humanity and prepare the world for the long-awaited promised one of all ages. Baha'u'lláh becomes a prominent supporter of his cause. But the Bab's teachings are met with opposition from those in power. The clergy and the government denounce him and relentlessly persecute his followers. Thousands are murdered. (1850). A military square in Tabriz. The Bab himself is executed under dramatic circumstances.
Após a execução do Bab, seus seguidores continuaram a ser perseguidos até que milhares foram massacrados. E Baha'u'lláh foi levantada uma falsa acusação sobre ele, até que o mandato de prisão foi emitido.
He was arrested. He was chained, he was beaten, he was made to walk barefooted, and then he was put into a dungeon called Siyah Chal, literally means the black pit.
The place was dark, there was no light, there was one entrance. It was full of filth and unbelievable. I mean, we cannot really get our heads around what that place was like.
Baha'u'lláh had a heavy chain around his neck. The marks the chain left was evident all his life. Well, you look at that tragedy, you look at that, and your heart breaks. People wait for many, many years for the beloved to appear, and then they do this to him. But he was in the same Siachal that Baha'u'llah received inspiration from God, that he is the manifestation of God for today.
During the days I lay in the prison of Tehran, though the galling weight of the chains and the stench-filled air allowed me but little sleep, still, in those infrequent moments of slumber, I felt as if something flowed from the crown of my head over my breast, even as a mighty torrent that precipitateth itself upon the earth from the summit of a lofty mountain. Baha'u'llah endures 4 months of intense suffering in the Black Pit. Orders are given that he, along with his family, be banished forever from his homeland. Sick and frail, he crosses the Zagros Mountains in the bitter cold of winter to reach Baghdad. This begins a period of exile that will last the remaining 40 years of his life. For the time being, the truth of his divine mission is kept hidden. 1863. The influence of Baha'u'llah and his teachings continues to infuriate the Persian authorities. At their urging, the Ottoman Sultan exiles him farther still from his native land. Before departing Baghdad, Baha'u'llah gathers his companions for 12 days in a garden called Rizvan on the Tigris River. It is here, with his tent pitched along the rose-lined pathways, that Baha'u'llah proclaims publicly for the first time that he is the promised messenger of God for this day. In this moment, a new era in human history begins. Everything would change. The magnitude of the transformation called for by Baha'u'llah is hinted at in some of the words he speaks regarding these days. That which was hidden is now revealed, and that which was concealed is now come. Bestir yourselves to greet this day, a day whereon the gates of heaven have been flung open, and the clouds of eternity have rained down. His words release a tidal wave of spiritual energy, whose effects will extend across countless generations into the future. Baha'u'llah, along with his family and companions, is exiled deep into the Ottoman Empire. First to Istanbul, then Edirne. The authorities hope to eradicate his faith once and for all. But Baha'u'llah's influence proves unstoppable. Years pass. In 1868, he is banished yet again, this time to a harsh and remote colony on the outskirts of the Ottoman Empire, the prison city of Akka.
L'arrivo di Baha'u'lláh in Acca è difficile descriverlo. Il caldo, la mancanza di vento. Dalla porta del mare, dalla città prigione, furono portati attraverso questi vicoli bui e stretti. Baha'u'lláh e la sua famiglia furono portati nella prigione, un edificio fatiscente, in una condizione miserabile.
他们刚开始请监狱的那个看门员给他们水喝，可是呢，那时候这一些人呢都拒绝了他们，也不要给他们任何的食物、任何的水。给他们的呢，那时候后来他们勉强的给他们一些东西，那个水呢，可是也没有办法让他们喝。很多朋友就在那个时候有3个人就因为那样的状态之下而过世了。
Baha'u'lláh mong tulis tentang pelitian ilui ku kateh tulisan suci kidot kek sanggup ki pikul beban rantai ili sangatnya sebab mereka bebas dunia adil daripada belenggu dunia. Lepas ajine kek juga sanggup anu ki jadi orang anu tawanan ku kateh kubu de kuat sebab bebas manusia dan sanggup kingot cawan penderitaan abadi hinggalah i hampas. So kita manusia nai sui riang gembira.
We have accepted to be abased, O believers in the unity of God, that ye may be exalted, and have suffered manifold afflictions, that ye might prosper and flourish. It is during his exile and imprisonment that Baha'u'lláh writes letters to the monarchs and rulers of the time, openly proclaiming his station as the messenger of God for this day.
Baha'u'lláh wrote these letters to the kings and rulers of the world during an age of empires. This is a period of time where a few rulers governed most of the world.
Baha'u'lláh призывает этих правителей к чему-то. И очень важно, что это призыв к миру. К миру, а также к тому, чтобы вот эти сильные миры сего не притесняли свои народы.
How remarkable that this prisoner, under such appalling conditions, would write to the rulers and the kings of that time to offer guidance on how to lead their people with compassion and justice.
Baha'u'lláh spends 9 years confined behind the walls of the prison city of Akka. Over time, the leaders of the city grow to love and admire him. They eventually ignore the Sultan's order and request, even beg, Baha'u'lláh to leave the confines of the city. Finally, he moves to a place outside the city gates, called Bachi.
U zadnjim 12 godina svog života Baha'u'lláh je živio u Bači. Veliki broj istaknutih ličnosti su ga tamo posjetili. Jedan od njih je bio Edward Granville Brown, koji je bio profesor u univerzitetu u Cambridge. Ta njegova posjeta je na njemu ostavila dubok utisak i on je odlučio da napiše izvještaj o tome.
I found myself in a large apartment. A second or two elapsed ere, with a throb of wonder and awe, I became definitely conscious that the room was not untenanted. In the corner, where the divan met the wall, sat a wondrous and venerable figure. Those piercing eyes seemed to read one's very soul. No need to ask in whose presence I stood, as I bowed myself before one who is the object of a devotion and love which kings might envy, and emperors sigh for in vain. A mild, dignified voice bade me be seated, and then continued. Thou hast come to see a prisoner and an exile. We desire but the good of the world and happiness of the nations, that all nations should become one in faith, and all men as brothers, that the bonds of affection and unity between the sons of men should be strengthened, that differences of race be annulled. What harm is there in this? Yet so it shall be. These fruitless strifes, these ruinous wars shall pass away, and the most great peace shall come. May 1892. After 40 years of suffering and exile on behalf of humanity, Baha'u'llah passes away here, in Bahji. His resting place, now restored and beautified, is the spiritual heart and a place of pilgrimage for millions of people around the world. People striving daily in their home communities to put Baha'u'llah's teachings of unity, justice, and equality into practice. There is a story unfolding. It is the story of humanity's encounter with God. An encounter playing out around the world, in villages and neighborhoods, towns and cities, in which every soul is a vital participant. It is an encounter full of promise and illumined by the words of Baha'u'llah.
Béni est celui qui préfère son frère à lui-même.
In the garden of thy heart, plant not but the rose of love.
كلكم أثمار شجرة واحدة وأوراق غصن واحد.
Тэгэхээр дэлхийн ертөнцийн нэг л улс орон хүндрэлтэн төөний иргэд юм гэж одоо хэлсэн байдаг.
Свет единства так могуществен, что может осветить всю землю.
The aim of this wronged one, in sustaining woes and tribulations, in revealing the holy verses, and in demonstrating proofs, hath been naught but to quench the flame of hate and enmity, that the horizon of the hearts of men may be illumined with the light of concord, and attain real peace and tranquility.
I watched that film, and what I really love about it is the diversity within it. So many beautiful people finding wisdom and peace in the words of Baha'u'llah. Despite his life of exile and suffering, there is so much hope that has come and so much community that has come from his words. And I love that diversity that I see. But really, it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what you think. So I'm going to ask everyone now to turn to the person next to them and tell them one thing that they took from the film that they thought was interesting. Did everyone get to share something? Nice. Who heard something that they didn't actually realize or recognize was said in the film? Who heard something that was interesting to them? Oh, come on, raise your hands, guys. Who heard something interesting? All right, awesome. So you may notice when we open the curtains back up for the next moment in the program, when we open the curtain back up, you'll notice on the back wall the decoration of a door. And many of you probably saw that door in the film as well. There were images of a building looking very similar to what you're seeing on the stage. The building is the mansion of Bahji in Israel, which is where Baha'u'llah spent the final years of his life. And it's now a place of pilgrimage for Baha'is around the world. So the blue door that you'll see on the stage when the curtains open up again is actually a replication of the side entrance to the house of Bahji. Now let's keep the celebration going with more music, because music does really raise the soul. It's my pleasure to introduce Lonnie Nash, a singer and songwriter from Phoenix, Arizona, who has performed throughout the United States and recently completed a 2-year tour across Canada. Lonnie will be accompanied by Jonathan Shaw, a violinist who has studied classical music since he was 11 years old. He's 23 now, so that's over a decade of classical violin training. And I played the violin for a little while. It's a really hard instrument, so you guys are going to be really impressed. He now performs traditional Persian music as well as performing, producing, and composing music across all genres. I'm really looking forward to this. There'll be guitar, there'll be string, there'll be all sorts of genres of music. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lonnie and Jonathan.
One glance, one smile, one word, one heart, one mind, one step closer now, one hand reaching out. What love can do, I won't give up. I won't give up, I won't give up. I stand with you. I won't give up, I won't give up on us. One heart opening, one long sweet embrace, one more sign of grace. What love can do, I won't give up, I won't give up, I won't give up. I stand with you. I won't give up. I won't give up on us. One voice, one heart, one soul, one country, one body, one mind, one humankind. One voice, one heart, one soul, one country, one body, one mind. Oh, just one humankind. What love can do, I won't give up, I won't give up, I won't give up. I stand with Blessed are those who know that every moment is a gift. Those who know life can't be lived in the past. Blessed are those who couldn't find a word to criticize another, knowing what goes around always comes back. Blessed are those who live unassuming, those who know how to forgive and forget, and don't take for granted all they've been given, building a life free of guilt and regret. Blessed are those who look beyond the trouble for an answer, knowing it serves not the one to complain. Blessed are those who take responsibility for their doing, rather than searching for someone to blame. Blessed are those free of illusion, those who have faith and courage to shine and lead with compassion, kindness and grace, changing the world one light at a time. Blessed are those. Choosing to love for no reason at all. Blessed are those. God bless the whole wide world. Every single man and woman, every boy and girl, every creed and every nation, red and yellow, black and white, every thought and action, wrong or right, rivers and the ocean, mountains and the trees, sun, the moon, the air that we breathe. Oh, God bless the whole wide world. That's your part right there. You ready? We'll do it again. Here we go. God bless the whole wide world, no exceptions, the takers and the givers, weary and the strong, the grateful, the greedy, the old and the young, the lovers and the fighters, the winners and the losers, the poor, the wealthy, the beggars and the choosers. innocent, the guilty, the foolish and the wise, the hungry, the wasteful, the leaders and the blind. Oh, God bless the whole wide world. God bless the whole wide world. Exceptions. Oh, powerful, the helpless, lost and found, the hopeless, the hopeful, free and the bound, innocent, the guilty, the foolish and the wise, the hungry, the wasteful, the leaders and the blind. Oh, God bless the whole wide world. God bless the whole wide world, no exceptions. God bless the whole wide world. Every single man and woman, every boy and girl, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Now, as part of my role here tonight, I've been asked to share with you some thoughts on the significance of this bicentennial celebration. Now, hopefully, as I mentioned, the film helped to achieve that first goal of learning a little bit about the life and the legacy of Baha'u'llah on this 200th anniversary of his birth. So now I want to turn to the second idea that I'd like you to take away: the important role of service in the Baha'i community. But to do that, I need to first give you a little bit of context. As I mentioned earlier, Baha'is believe that all of the world's religions come from these divine teachers, that they come over time to bring us new teachings and to unite us further. So why do I bring back this idea of this progressive development of religion? Because I actually think that today we are suffering from a crisis of faith. In a letter about the bicentennial celebrations, the Universal House of Justice, that governing body for the worldwide Baha'is, wrote, "In contemporary society, the reputation of religion has suffered a great deal, and understandably so. If, in the name of religion, hatred and strife are promoted, it's better to do without it. However, true religion can only be known by its fruits. Its capacity to inspire, to transform, to unite, to foster peace and prosperity." Later, they write, "Cohorts of youth are becoming ever more conscious of their spiritual identity and are directing their energies towards the advancement of their societies." And I share these two quotes because I think that there is this dichotomy happening in the world today, where on one hand you see the demise of the reputation of religion, and it's countered by youth who are so spiritual, who want to change the world. There was a Pew Research Center study a couple of years ago. It found that 1 out of 5 Americans say they are not religiously affiliated. And roughly 40% of that group defined themselves as spiritual but not religious. That's nearly 24 million people. That means more people define themselves as spiritual but not religious than there are people who define themselves as atheists or Jews or Muslims in America. And that number is actually higher when you look at millennials. This younger generation, this same generation that wants to work for a company that has a sense of purpose, they want to buy Tom's and Warby Parker because it's good for the world. This generation that donates to charity at higher levels than any previous generation. This same generation says they have no interest in religion, it is not for them. Now, I know that sounds a little bit like a generality, but I actually have some insight into this because of my professional life. By day, I'm the CEO of a media company called Soul Pancake. And our goal is to promote joyful human connection. We create daily inspiring and uplifting video content that we put out on digital platforms to nearly 10 million fans. And we have amassed 500 million video views on our content. And nearly 80% of those views come from people ages 14 to 34. So I am acutely aware of their feelings on this subject. This millennial generation looks at religion and they think, it's not for me. I'm a good person. I have a good heart. I have good intentions, and that's enough. But here's the thing. I actually don't believe it's enough, because I believe that religion's greatest power actually lies in its ability to create community around a common purpose. Those same millennials who say that they're spiritual but not religious is also the generation that reports the highest levels of loneliness and isolation than any generation before. Anxiety amongst teens and college students is up 40% in the past decade alone. They post on social media about fam and squad and crew, and yet they feel alone. And religion, what so many of them don't really realize, is that a natural solution to those feelings of isolation, the natural solution to wanting to be a good member of society and bring about a better world, can actually be found in community, in the types of communities that religion brings. This feeling like you belong, that you have a system of support, that you're working towards a common goal. And that's what religion provides. The Universal House of Justice letter also said, the diverse religions of the world are shown to be expressions of a single underlying truth. What is that truth? To transform humanity's inner life and outer conditions. To transform our inner life and our outer conditions. So I want to talk a little bit about what those inner and outer conditions are, and focus specifically on this principle that I mentioned, that Baha'u'llah emphasizes again and again, the transformational value of service. As Baha'is, we believe strongly in walking the spiritual path, but with practical feet. Walk a spiritual path, but do it practically. And being of service to our families, our neighbors, our communities, our world, that's the highly practical quality that is instilled in Baha'is from a very young age. But why is service? Why is service considered such an important quality to Baha'is? Well, I just told you, Baha'u'llah told us so. But in addition to that, I'm going to tell you about the practical side of why service is so important. It's because science tells us as well. And Baha'u'llah teaches that religion and science, they must always be in harmony. In my work at Soul Pancake, we actually create a lot of content around the science of happiness, how to practically bring more joy and happiness and contentment into your life. And we base a lot of this work, this content that we make, on work done in the field of positive psychology. So if you think about psychology, it's usually the study of what's wrong with us, right? You go to therapy to figure out what's going wrong with you. But a professor named Dr. Martin Seligman said, there's a lot of people who have a lot right with them, right? They're resilient, they have grit, they know how to handle things. I want to know what's going on in their brains. I want to understand that. And he pioneered this field of positive psychology. And he discovered that certain things like gratitude and compassion, love and service actually have a profound effect on the psychology of the human being. There's a great study that he pioneered that has been recreated several times. It was conducted at the University of Chicago. And they invited in a bunch of college students, and they had them take a test about their happiness levels and got a measure of their happiness. And then they told these college students, go out this weekend and make yourself as happy as you can. And so these college students went out over the weekend, and what did they do? They drank, they partied, they smoked weed, they just had a grand old time. And they came back the following week, and they took this happiness test again. And lo and behold, across the board, all of their happiness levels had actually decreased. So the scientists sent them out again the following weekend and said, okay, now go out this weekend and do a small act of service. Doesn't have to be big. Buy someone a cup of coffee. Just do a small act of service. So these college students again went out over the weekend, and they helped a neighbor move, they took grandma to the grocery store, they drove their friend to the airport, they did a small act of service from someone. And they came in the following week, and again they took the happiness test. And what they found was that their happiness levels had increased, but it had actually increased to the point that it was higher than when they first walked in the door. That's the power of service. Now, this study actually gained interest for people in the 80s and 90s, 1980s and 1990s. But almost 200 years before that, Baha'u'llah had told his followers this: "Be not the slave of your moods, but their master. But if you are so angry, so depressed, so sore that your spirit cannot find deliverance and peace, even in prayer, then quickly go and give some pleasure to someone lowly or sorrowful, or to a guilty or innocent sufferer. Sacrifice yourself. Sacrifice your talent, your time, your rest to another, to one who has to bear a heavier load than you." Baha'u'llah said that sacrifice for another, giving of yourself, your time, your talent, that can completely transform your mood. Now, Baha'is believe that service has the ability to transform your perspective, but Baha'u'llah is only the latest of divine messengers, as we talked about. If you look further back in the teachings of Christ in Corinthians 13:13, he says, "And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love." Christ spoke often about the power of love to heal and to give hope, that acts of love have the ability to transform our inner lives. Baha'u'llah said the same thing about service. It has the ability to help us not be a slave to our moods. Both of these divine teachers point to these small acts of love and small acts of service as being transformational. So you see, the science and the religion really do go in harmony. It just took us a little while for the science to catch up. So I'm going to ask everyone to do a little exercise with me because I like interactive things. And it was inspired by Neil deGrasse Tyson. So I'm going to ask everyone to make a thumbs up. Put it out in front of you. Put it out in front of you. Everyone. I want to see all the thumbs. Okay. Now I want you to close one eye and cover me with your thumb. I'm going to stand still. Cover me with your thumb with one eye closed. And on the count of 3, I'm going to ask you to switch which eye is closed. 1, 2, 3, switch. Hi. I just pop up, right? It's kind of amazing, kind of hilarious. But the reason I do this is because I think it's amazingly powerful. All you did was switch one eye, a very small action, and it completely changed your perspective. It allowed you to see something that you didn't see before, that was completely blocked out from your view. One little small act, and it changed your perspective entirely. Those little shifts, those little changes, are what those divine messengers have been telling us for centuries can dramatically change our perspectives. And science confirms this again and again, that small acts of love and compassion and gratitude and service have the ability to bring us so much more joy and contentment. So you see, religion and science tell us this, that service can change your inner life. Now that's our inner life. Remember, we're talking about our inner life and our outer conditions. So how can service done in the name of religion affect our neighborhoods and our world? For that, I want to go super local. And I want to point to the works of the local Baha'is here in South Orange County. And one particular area I want to focus on is service done for and with children and junior youth. Baha'u'llah said, "Regard man as a mine rich in gems of inestimable value. Education can alone cause it to reveal its treasures and enable mankind to benefit therefrom." Baha'is have taken these words and turned them into a service, hosting weekly children's classes around virtues throughout South Orange County. Classes that are open to anyone, that use songs and stories and games and activities to teach virtues such as honesty, kindness, generosity, justice to our local kids. And the junior youth, those that are a little bit older, between elementary and high school, the junior youth in South Orange County have come together and are doing service work throughout the region. They do weekly beach cleanups. They hold a weekly homework help club to help elementary school students with their homework. They do annual canned food and toy drives for the Ronald McDonald House. And they're helping to build homes and donate food for the homeless in this area. And that's just what is being done locally here in South Orange County. Baha'is around the world are engaging in this kind of same local service work. And to me, it speaks ultimately of the importance of religion, of faith, of community, and ultimately of service, to bring joy to our inner lives, and to progress humanity forward. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this evolution of faith and religion, and specifically focus in on this quality of service, especially with children and junior youth, is because I believe that this is one of the most beautiful elements of Baha'u'llah's legacy. And it's one of the qualities I'm most excited to celebrate as we reflect back on the 200th anniversary of the birth of Baha'u'llah. So with that, I will turn your attention to the screen for a slideshow that shows some of the children and junior youth activities, classes, and service work of South Orange County.
I am a bucket filler, this is who I am. I try to think of others and do the best I can. I lend a helping hand, let someone know they're not alone. And if the kind words that I say brighten someone's day, I'm happy 'cause I know. Yes, I am a giver, not a taker. Yes, I am a builder, not a breaker. Filling buckets up, overflowing hearts, this is who I am. I am a bucket filler, this is what I do. Every time I look to see the best in you. If your bucket's empty, I make an effort on my part to look beyond the surface and see what's in your heart. Because yes, I am a giver, not a taker. Yes, I am a builder, not a breaker. Filling buckets up, overflowing hearts, this is who I am. Sometimes it isn't easy, and I struggle just to know how to fill another's bucket when my own bucket is low. I stop and take a breath and try to listen if I can to the voice inside that reminds me who I am. We are bucket fillers, this is who we are. We fill each other up as we go reaching for the stars. We are bucket fillers, and here's the magic of it all. When we help each other, every one of us stands tall. So yes, I am a giver, not a taker. Yes, I am a builder, not a breaker. Filling buckets up, overflowing hearts, this is who I am. Filling buckets up, overflowing hearts, I will do my part, 'cause this is who I am.
Now, I'm sure some of you recognize that one young man's face kept showing up more and more frequently in the slideshow. It's not your imagination. His name is Edward Wynn. He lives in San Clemente and is a junior at San Clemente High School. He enjoys surfing, listening to jazz, and cooking. He's going to be studying engineering in college. He has attended Baha'i children's and junior youth classes and groups since he was a child.
Good evening, friends. As you know, my name is Edward Wynn. I'm from San Clemente, California. It is an honor to be speaking to you wonderful people tonight about my experience with the Baha'i faith at such a grand event, such as a bicentennial for the birth of the twin prophets, the Bab and Baha'u'llah, I was not born into a family of Baha'is, but rather I was introduced to the faith when I was very young. First by attending children's classes at my local park. One of my teachers was Dr. Vadi Jeffers. I retained very little from those classes except the taste of fresh mango juice and Nilla wafers. After children's classes, I started to attend junior youth group with Vadi. I became more involved with service, but like the children's class, it all seemed like fun and games to me, with no real lessons being learned. However, recently, I have had an opportunity to see a program by Luke Slott about Baha'u'llah's life through beautiful songs and stories he composed. That's when I felt a final piece of a puzzle fall into place for me. It opened my eyes to the education I had been ignoring for nearly half of my life. Soon after that, I went through an institute campaign for the junior youth, and it confirmed my newfound interest in Baha'u'llah and his teachings. The Baha'i faith has shaped and formed me into the person I am today. It has surrounded me with such wonderful people. It has given me a supportive community of friends who are filled with love for each other. Some of them are here today, or tonight. I feel I have so much to learn about Baha'u'llah's teachings and how to put them into use through service. My hope for the future is to grow spiritually and to give back to the community by becoming an animator for a junior youth group in San Clemente or any other place. I would like to thank my parents for raising me and giving me unconditional love, and to thank Dr. Jeffers for being such a loving and influential person in my life. I wish you all a life full of love for yourself and the world. Thank you very much.
He's an impressive young man, right? Let's give him another round of applause. Now we're coming to the end of our program, and so before I introduce our final act, I just have a couple of special acknowledgments and housekeeping items to mention. Tonight's event was organized and planned by the Baha'is of South Orange County, which includes the communities of Aliso Viejo, Dana Point, Laguna Beach, Laguna Hills, Laguna Niguel, Laguna Woods, Mission Viejo, Orange County East, Rancho Santa Margarita, and San Juan Capistrano. The program was sponsored by the Baha'is of San Clemente. Let's give them all a round of applause. As you've seen and heard tonight, local service is of utmost importance to these local communities. And when the program ends, in the lobby, there's going to be a table set up with information on some of the local activities of these communities. If you're interested in learning more, please head to that table and you can find out information. In addition, everyone here tonight will receive a custom printed prayer from Baha'u'llah as a parting gift. There will also be cake and refreshments, so if you've got a sweet tooth, there's something for everyone. Yay, I heard the yay for the cake. Yay. Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to acknowledge before our final act is the messages of support that Baha'is around the world have received from global dignitaries in honor of this bicentennial celebration. As you saw in the film earlier tonight, Baha'u'llah reached out to world leaders of his time with his message of unity. Today, in celebration of the 200th anniversary of his birth, leaders and heads of state around the world have issued statements of recognition to the Baha'is, from the Prime Minister of England to the President of India and to the Dalai Lama and former President Jimmy Carter. In his October 10th message, President Carter wrote, "As many of our people struggle with persistent systemic injustice against African Americans and indigenous nations, chronic violence against women, religious conflict, and endless war, the centrality of peace, human equality, and religious unity found in the Baha'i writings and activities can serve as an inspiration to those of all faiths and creeds. We thank and honor these acknowledgments." With that, I would like to present the final performance of the night. And so aptly, as we have celebrated the role of service, particularly with children and junior youth, our final musical act is a children's choir. The Priceless Pearls are an interfaith children's choir that sing both popular and sacred music with more than 20 members from diverse ethnic, religious, and cultural backgrounds. The Priceless Pearls welcome all children from 1st through 8th grades into its roster and is guided under the direction of Nancy Brown from Santa Ana. Please welcome the Priceless Pearls.
Hello and welcome, friends. We are the Priceless Pearls. We are an interfaith chorus sponsored by the Baha'is of Greater Orange County. We are honored to sing for you today in celebration of the bicentennial of the birth of Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith. Our choir began in 2012, and we perform regularly in public. We are a musical team. We sing for our hearts. We are a blend of unity.
O friends, be not careless of the virtues with which ye have been endowed, neither be neglectful of your high destiny.
When you've got a feeling created to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization. To act like the beasts of the field is unworthy of man. Those virtues that befit his dignity are forbearance, mercy, compassion, and loving kindness towards all the peoples and the kindreds on the earth. Our Baha'u'llah the pen. It shall be on earth as it is in heaven. Buddha's lights rekindled the flame. Moses and the burning bush, they did the same. Then came Jesus with the dove to teach us the word, and the word was love. With Muhammad, prophetic cycle then was sealed. The new world order has been revealed. Through the love, the gift, Baha'u'llah the pen. It shall be on earth as it is in heaven. Be on earth as it is in heaven. There is perfect brotherhood underlying humanity, for all are servants of one God and belong to one family. God is one, man is one, and all the religions are one. Land and sea, hill and valley, under the beautiful sun. God is one, man is one, and all the religions agree. When everyone learns the three onenesses, we'll have world unity.
Audience, please join us in the Hawaiian Unity song. This is an echo song. We'll lead and you'll follow. We are drops of one ocean. We are waves of one sea. Come and join us in our quest for unity. It's a way of life for you and me. We are flowers of one garden. We are waves
Doesn't that give you hope? Let's give them another round of applause. I'd like to end tonight with one final thought. I recently came across a quote that my aunt, who's actually a member of South Orange County, shared with me from the cultural anthropologist Margaret Mead. She said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." I believe that the Baha'i community is just such a group of committed citizens. They are dedicated to changing the world, to bringing about peace, justice, and unity, to bring to life the good words, the good deeds, and the kind words that Baha'u'llah encouraged 200 years ago. I hope that tonight's program, this bicentenary celebration, has left you with a little more understanding of Baha'u'llah's story, the legacy of his faith, and the work being done by Baha'is today to bring a spirit of service to our children, our communities, and our world.
The aim of this wronged one, in sustaining woes and tribulations, in revealing the holy verses, and in demonstrating proofs, hath been naught but to quench the flame of hate and enmity, that the horizon of the hearts of men may be illumined with the light of concord, and attain real peace and tranquility.